you ever wondered what it might be like to have high performance sleep, to have an amazing rest at night, and wake up without an alarm clock, full of energy, and be highly productive all day long? That's what we're talking about this week in our first of our 3-part series all about biohacking your sleep. My name is Tanessa Shears, and we are going to be chatting with Jeremy of Nature Remedies all about how you can biohack your sleep for better performance. This is video 1 of 3, and today is going to be all about the benefits and how you can transform your life, the changes you can see, and how good you can really feel by making changes to your sleep. There are going to be 2 more after this, so keep your eye out for them. But let's get started. We'll jump in with this discussion all about biohacking your sleep.
Welcome, Tanessa. How are you this morning?
Far away
in Pacific time.
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver, Canada today, and all days.
It's a long way away from where I am here in Israel, but sleep is something that is relevant no matter where you are, right?
That's true.
So, quick bit of information for people who are watching. Today we're talking to Tanessa Shears. She's a health coach, health consultant. We're talking about sleep. We're going to be going pretty deep into sleep, how to biohack your way to better sleep, why sleep is important, what happens when you sleep. It's going to be really informative and really, really cool. To kick it off, let's have Tanessa, how about give us a little bit of a background about yourself and, how you approach the sleep angle.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've been working with fitness and health forever. I started in 2008, back teaching mostly fitness classes, but have evolved into personal training and stuff like that. And, as I've been in the fitness industry for longer and longer, there's stuff you learn along the way, right? And of course, at first it was exercise. And then I'm like, oh my goodness, look how much nutrition matters. And I start to piece together this. And then the last piece of the puzzle was when I really started to dive into sleep. And that came when, when I was in the gym seeing 30 client hours a week, and I'd come home and I'd be so exhausted. And I just thought that was so, just the way I felt was normal. And it didn't become apparent until after I had my baby this year, and what lack of sleep, deliberate lack of sleep, actually does to your brain. I mean, I would go and sit down at my desk and I'd be like, I have no creativity. I'm exhausted. And it was when I really started diving into the sleep component of it that I was like, oh my gosh, this is like the third piece of the puzzle of 3. It's like the magic pill that makes the exercise and the nutrition so much more effective. And ever since, I've been working with clients to apply the principles of high quality, high performance sleep. The results have just taken off, and I'm like, I found it. I found that missing piece. So that's why sleep has kind of become the cornerstone of what I teach now, as opposed to that little add-on we might get to at the end of the program, which is how we always treated it before.
Yeah, I'm really keen to learn more about this stuff. I mean, I'm sure we'll hit a whole bunch of topics. What we're going to be focusing on today is a kind of primer or sleep 101. So first of all, a little question. We're talking about biohacking today. What exactly is biohacking by your definition? We've spoken to biohackers before. The definition is pretty much the same, but I'd like to hear it from you, how you see biohacking.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a term that was originally popularized by Dave Asprey. I mean, he's the founder of so many of the biohacking techniques and wanting to live until 180 and all of that kind of stuff. But for me, the way I look at biohacking is, what can I do as an experiment in my life that I can directly measure the outcome of that improves my health, my longevity, my energy, the way I feel? Biohacking is essentially hacking your biology, right? What kind of strategies can we implement in order to be healthier and to feel more vibrant and alive and be able to actually enjoy our life? So that's the way I look at it, is how can I get more out of the life that I'm already living?
Yeah, I mean, I know also biohacking has a lot to do with data and tracking things and, quantifying things and analyzing them and moving on, learning, improving based on the analysis that you get from all the data that you collect, right?
Yeah, there's a big component of it, which is measuring data. And of course, it's one of those things where we don't have sensors in our brains that have a nice printout in the morning that says to us oh yeah, you good sleep, you got lots of deep sleep. We don't have that, right? So the benefit of the trackers is that it really kind of lets us see what's going on the inside. I mean, they're not necessary, but they kind of give you that competitive edge with yourself. And I love that. I love being able to see my data and I like being able to know what created the improvement. So I'm not wasting my time continuing things that aren't still helping, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I definitely agree with you. We love science and research and data here at Nature
Yeah.
Remedies, so we're totally on board with that. Okay, so let's start off. Why is sleep important? I mean, everyone says, yeah, okay, I go to sleep, I wake up, I'm refreshed, I feel good, but what's so important about it? Why, what happens while we sleep? What are the processes? What exactly are the mechanics behind it?
Yeah, I feel that sleep is our biggest opportunity to enhance our intelligence. And I don't just mean like my IQ and my book science. I mean like your ability to develop relationships with people and read facial expressions and body language and our ability to manage our moods so that we can have successful relationships in our lives where we're not taking out how we feel on other people. Sleep helps us be more creative. It helps us remember things more. It helps us excel in so many areas of our lives. I mean, everything from how our immune system functions to the hormones that are released that allow us to recover from our workouts. There's so many components that make sleep important. And then the reason that I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know what I was missing was because I was one of those people that I used to see the Instagram stories and videos from people that talked about sleep. And I used to be like, skip, next. Oh yeah, sleep, 7.5 to 8 hours. I got it, no
Everyone
problem,
sleeps. It's
right?
fine. I can sleep. I've been sleeping
Well,
for 40 years. I'm good at it. What do I have to know about it, right?
yeah, but I feel like it's one of those things that like until you understand how good your brain is supposed to feel, you're like, oh, have I been living that way my whole life by accident? Like, is this how clear I'm supposed to? What do you mean I'm supposed to wake up without an alarm clock? What do you mean I'm not supposed to be tired when I wake up in the morning? What do you mean willpower isn't a thing anymore because I can control my food choices because I can manage my own emotions? Like all of these things, it just makes you wonder like, how could I go back? It is
Yeah.
just, it's really the center point of everything else in terms of making everything else that you do to your health more effective, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. I mean, we know what happens when we sleep, and we know what happens when we don't sleep. We get
Yeah.
angry, we get moody,
Uh,
we get snappy, we can't focus, we can't think. So obviously it is important for all of those things. But how does it actually work? What is the magic that happens when we sleep for all of these different things? Why do we not feel angry when we sleep for a long time? Why do we feel clear-headed? What makes our bodies feel better when we sleep enough? What actually happens? What are the mechanisms there?
Yeah, well, it depends on kind of what stage of sleep your body is going through. I mean, sleep is not just like you close your eyes, you wake up the next morning. There's phases and there's stages that you go through that each have their different purpose. But if you're specifically talking about mood, there was a really interesting study that was done. And what it did was it had people that were sleep deprived. And the fun thing is, sleep deprived is considered anything less than 6 hours asleep, not in bed, asleep per night. And I mean, I can vouch for friends in my entrepreneurial community alone that, they're like operating on the 5.5 to 6 hour train here. But they showed a group of sleep deprived people negative imagery. And what they did was they watched their brain and the activity and what happened during this. And what they found was that the amygdala, which is responsible for the emotional responses we have, it was much more active in people that were sleep deprived. So if they say, for example, showed a photo of a house burning down, the people that were sleep deprived had much, much higher negative emotional reactions. But the interesting thing is it also goes the other way. So there's an area of the brain called the striatum, which is responsible for like long-term gratification and stuff like that. But when they showed these people positive images, they also had overly positive responses. And I mean, that might sound good, but it's that instant gratification indulgent type of activity. And I mean, when you're wanting to take care of your health and go to your workouts and sit down at your desk and get stuff done, but your brain is underslept and you're getting irritated with tech that's not working or your coworker, and then on the other hand you're just like primed for some instant gratification, you're just like, yes, I am going to have that office donut. Yes, I will totally skip doing all this work and, watch Netflix instead. Our brain is just primed to make poor choices. And then we end up relying on like some version of willpower, and it's just not working. So sleep literally makes us better humans. It makes us make better decisions. It has better reactions or interactions with our family. It's a really powerful thing for improving your life.
Yeah, sometimes I feel our brain is just waiting for us to lower our guard so it can do a whole bunch of funky stuff and cheat, you know?
Well, totally. We have like three prime instincts. It's seek comfort. This got to feel good. Avoid pain. I don't like bad, and make it easy. And I
Make it
mean,
easy.
anytime that our brain wants that instant gratification, it's easy. I don't have to do what I don't want to do, and this is good. So yes,
Yeah.
our brain is totally geared that way, and it just kind of lets down, like you said, the guard that allows that to happen.
So what about fixing up our muscles, building our muscles, fixing our body? How does that happen when we sleep? What
Yeah,
happens over
absolutely.
there?
So,
Chemicals, endorphins, you know?
yeah. So basically, the most of our recovery is done during deep sleep. So when our brain enters deep sleep, it's a certain phase where the most of it happens at the earlier part of the night, 10 p.m., 11, 12, even 1, and growth hormone gets released. So growth hormone is responsible for that muscle recovery and repair. So when we go and do really hard workouts, this is what's allowing our body to recover and repair and heal so that we can go back and have a really good workout the next time. If we're undersleeping, we're not getting the benefit of that growth hormone, which is allowing for that recovery. So you're always kind of playing catch up and worked out on muscles that aren't quite as refreshed as they could be.
But if you're saying the growth hormone is released pretty early in the sleep cycle, if I'm only sleeping 3 or 4 hours, wouldn't I just be getting growth hormone? Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah, well, there's different components of sleep, and certain components could happen earlier in the night and later. So if you want to look at how our brain works during sleep, we go through sleep cycles. An average cycle is anywhere from 90 minutes to 110 minutes. And here's how it works. Your brain enters light sleep first. That's kind of when you're dozing off, you're kind of losing awareness, and then it drops into deep sleep. Like, this is unconscious. Somebody could walk through the room, you wouldn't even wake up. This is when that growth hormone is released. But we don't stay there, right? We stay there for a little bit, and then we go back through light sleep into REM sleep. And REM is, we're more commonly referred to as dream sleep. It's rapid eye movement. It's when we're having all the dreams and stuff during the night. And then we slip back into light sleep. So it's kind of like that nice flow between light sleep, deep sleep, REM sleep. Yeah, you bet. And that's kind of what it looks like as far as that. But the thing that most of us don't know is that most of our deep sleep happens at the early part of the night, but most of our dreaming happens at the end. So when we go to sleep 2 hours late and think we're only cutting off 25% of our sleep, you may in fact be cutting out 50 to 60% of that deep sleep needed for recovery, right? So cutting off on either end has its consequences.
So each phase of sleep has different benefits for our body, is what you're saying, basically, and we need all of them. Is
Yeah.
there a benefit for light sleep, or is it just like a transitional period to ease you into the REM sleep or deep sleep?
Yeah, I mean, light sleep, there are benefits to all forms of sleep. It does help us recover. But the specific parts of sleep that we want are the deep sleep, where you get like the long-term memory storage and the recovery, but our dream sleeps where we get like the mood management and our creativity and helps consolidate memory. So there's different purposes, but the most important ones is we want to make sure we're getting enough deep and REM, whereas I have not met very many people that lack light sleep. In fact, we're usually far too much into the light sleep. We need a little bit more deep and REM sleep.
Yeah, something I want to talk about probably in our later chat, the one next week, with regard to the sleep phases. We won't talk
Yeah.
about it now because now we're just kind of giving a bit of background. But I do have some
Yeah.
things I want to talk about with you. Um,
Yeah.
so, what exactly does a good night's sleep look like? How do we go about prepping for that? What kind of, like, I guess, measurements would we be looking for? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I like to, when I work with my clients, I'm like, there are 6 components of high performance sleep, meaning, because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, I call them their KPIs, their key performance indicators. It's what you are measuring, it's the measuring bar to which you put your sleep up against. And then we start to look, where are we falling short? So the 6 of them, the first one's really intuitive. It's 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Where we get a little cloudy on this one is when people are like, oh yeah, I went to bed at 10 and woke up at 6. No, that's time spent in bed. But what most people don't know, because as adults, we know how to put ourselves back to sleep. That's the difference between us and babies. But every time a sleep cycle ends, we experience a mini wake up. Most of the time, they go unnoticed. We go right back to sleep. We go right into another cycle of deep sleep. But some people wake up during those, and those can start to increase in time and take away. So if you're going to bed at 10 and waking up at 6, but you're awake for an hour during the night, you're actually getting 7 hours, right? So 7.5 to 8 hours of time asleep is the first one. That's one of the first things you start working on. The second one is I like to find out, what does your circadian rhythm look like? And this is something we can get into a different time, but to keep it brief, our body operates on a 24-hour clock. It's kind of that feeling where if you haven't seen a clock for a couple hours, but you intuitively know what time it is, your body's like that too, right? So it has an idea of what time it is. Our hormones follow that. Our sleep follows that. Our bodies operate on that clock. So in an ideal world where we are not influenced by, artificial sunset, that's what I call all our indoor lights now, and technology and chemicals and alcohol and caffeine, if you take that all out of it and we go back to living in caves, we go to sleep when the sun comes down, we wake up when the sun comes up, we didn't need alarm clocks, we didn't need melatonin supplements, nothing. So I like to see how optimized is your circadian rhythm. Are you needing an alarm clock to wake up, or does your body naturally wake up at the same time? Are you going to bed at the same time? That's what I like to look at is within a 20 to 30 minute window, are you consistently going to bed and waking up at the same time?
One thing I want to say with regards to that, going to bed at sundown, getting up at sunup. I've read articles and research that in medieval times and even earlier, people would go to bed when the sun goes down. They'd sleep for like maybe 3, 4, 5 hours. They would get up in the middle of the night, be awake for another 1 hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, doing whatever they do, and then boom, head back to sleep until the sun woke them up again in the morning.
I was curious. I wonder what the purpose for that was. Like if there was a cultural reason at the time, or if it was required by employment or something.
No. I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and even before that. I can research this for the next call because it might have to do with. I might be wrong here. But it might have to do with back in the day in medieval times and Middle Ages. That's when the research was related to. There were bandits and brigands that would come and attack houses, attack peasant houses. It might be they needed to be awake to show that there was like someone in the house or something. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be confusing different kinds of articles. I don't know. Yeah. I'll check it and I'll get back to you for the next time we speak.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting to explore. But yeah, going into the other 6 components. So you have getting enough sleep. You have, are you waking up, going to sleep relatively at the same time without an alarm clock? The third one is, are you falling asleep within 5 to 15 minutes? If you hit the pillow when you're out, you're too tired. If you take longer than 15 to 20 minutes to fall asleep, we need to do some stuff to help you get to sleep a little faster. So there's that optimal, what's called sleep latency, how long it takes you to fall asleep. The fourth one is we look at quality. So we talked about having deep sleep and dreaming, that's your REM sleep. Deep sleep should take up anywhere from 10 to 25% of your night. And that does decrease with age, just because our brain isn't as capable as producing deep sleep waves the older we get.
But we can't track this really, right? Unless we have some kind of tracker. I mean, don't track it by ourselves.
That's correct. So what we look at in here is, this is something you'd either need to do a sleep study on. I mean, there's lots of these kind of watches which will give you a rough estimate. But I mean, if you do have one, you're looking for that 10 to 25% deep sleep. And with your REM dreaming, you want to be 20 to 25% of your night in dream sleep. So that's important. And that's the fourth one. The last two is you want to have a low resting heart rate. That's showing that you recovered well from the day before, the day's activities, your workouts, a low resting heart rate. And the last one is you want good sleep efficiency. You want to be able to go to sleep and wake up in the morning with minimal wake-ups. You want to be asleep while you're asleep, not waking up because of, caffeine or alcohol that happened earlier in the day that's affecting your quality of sleep. So those are the 6 components that I measure.
Those are the components. I have 2 things I want to add. So with regards to sleep latency, we spoke about this earlier. One thing I find with what helps me get to sleep really quick is just making sure that I use my bed only for sleeping. I don't watch TV in my bed or play games or eat or just spend the day or whatever. The bed is for sleeping. So I know when I hit the bed, I'm going to sleep, and my body gets ready to go to sleep. It's a Pavlovian reaction that is already ingrained in my body. Hit the pillow, sleep time. That's it. No questions.
No, I think that's fantastic. So many clients I work with struggle with falling asleep or staying asleep because their mind is so preoccupied and racing. Yeah, they're used to, like, you know, working in bed and watching the TV, like you said. But if you have that preconditioned response of when I go to bed, this is when I sleep, it's something that fosters a really healthy sleep hygiene, right?
Yeah. And one more thing with regard to the quality of the sleep and the percentages. So if we're talking about maximum amount of REM sleep and maximum amounts of deep sleep, half of our sleep is light sleep, basically.
Yep, it can be upwards of 50%. Yeah, it varies from person to person. Like, it's fascinating being on the end where I watch all my clients' spreadsheets and I track their sleep numbers very closely. Person to person can be so fascinating in their differences. One person can have easy 30-35% of their night spent dreaming, and some people are barely getting 20% despite having the same habits, right? It really is different person to person. But what we start looking at is, what is your normal? How can we bump that up a couple percent relatively? So bump it up 3% regardless of what the number is.
Yeah, that must be fascinating, by the way, having spreadsheets with a whole bunch of sleep numbers to compare and get data and just, you know, understand the results. I mean, that must be really, really cool.
Oh, it's so much fun. And the best part about it is when you make a change, like, hey, I want you to try doing this before bed, and watching those numbers shoot up or change in a way that they were aiming for. Or, like, I just have a client this week who it's just the first time she's sleeping through the night in months. And it's one of those things where, like, I know how good that feels. So I get to really celebrate that with them. Like, this is life-changing. If you have problems sleeping and you're tired all the time, it's life-changing to get quality sleep, right? Some people crave that, but don't know how to do it. And, like, when you to understand the benefits of it and start getting into the hacks that improve your sleep, it's so worth it.
That's what I was going to say. So the next call we're going to have next week, we'll talk about some actual hacks, some actionable items that you can do, practice, to make sure that your sleep is a good quality sleep. No teasers. Tune in next week to find out. If anyone has any questions that they're watching, feel free to ask. In the meantime, I know that you're coming out, you're launching a book this week, right? You want to tell us about the book a bit?
Yeah, no. So after experimenting on myself and my clients and seeing, oh my gosh, these are the things that work, these are the things that created such a difference, I was like, I have to tell more people about this in a way that's accessible, because not everyone, you know, has the opportunity to work with a coach or has the time to do it. So I wrote a book, and it's called Focus. Pretty simple. Hack your sleep for more productivity, energy, and growth in your business. So essentially what it does is it takes you through the behind the scenes of sleep, what you're going to get out of it, the 18 hacks that have made the biggest difference, not only to myself and my husband, but my clients. And then it takes you through a step-by-step plan of exactly how to implement it so that there's no questions asked. I mean, it's a straight to the point, no filler. I want you taking action fast, not spending 3 weeks reading a book. And that did launch this week on Amazon. So it is super exciting. And I'm offering it for free on Kindle until Friday, August 14th. So this would be a good opportunity. If you're interested in changing your sleep, go grab that book. It's free. It's all my best stuff.
18 hacks. It's a lot of tips. 18 is a big number.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very big number. I don't know if you know this, a bit of personal information. In Judaism, 18 is a very, very, very serendipitous and fortuitous number, because in Judaism, every letter has a number, and every number corresponds to a letter. So 18 in Judaism means life or live. So inadvertently, maybe you tapped into something over here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that just sounds like that life and sleep giving you life. I like it. But I mean, that's awesome. But if you're interested in grabbing a free copy of that book, I've got a link in my profile bio that'll take you right to Amazon so that you can get it while it's free this week.
Yeah, so head over to her profile, get the book. I'll be getting it also, by the way. I think it's really cool. So there's one person who's going to be getting it. So again, thank you very much. I think we're next week also around this time, maybe an hour earlier. I'm not sure, right? Could be an hour earlier, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 11
Yeah.
a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
All right, so guys, next week, 11 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be talking about actionable items, actual hacks that you can implement to make sure you sleep better. Tanessa, thank you very much. It was great. My pleasure talking to you. Any last words? Closing
No,
statement?
have a better sleep tonight. That's what I want. I want you to have a better sleep, everyone.
All right, cool. So have a great day. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Appreciate it, and see you later. Bye-bye.
All right, bye.